Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia, and in today's video I want to talk about financial independence, and specifically I want to explain the reasons why I'm striving for financial independence, but also the reasons why I think everyone should be doing the same. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because a few weeks ago I did ask on my YouTube community tab whether you would want me to do a YouTube live specifically on financial independence or spending money, and the majority of people did say that they would love to have a live on financial independence. Now, if you didn't know, I have already done a YouTube live where I do talk about financial independence, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. I will link it up here for you and in the description below. But in this video I kind of want to talk about the reasons why I think it's really important to strive for it, and yeah, let's talk about my views and we can discuss whether you agree with them. So first of all, let's talk about what financial independence actually means, because especially if you have been looking on YouTube or different blog posts, then you'll be seeing that there's a growing community of people that are really striving for this. But if you've never heard of financial independence before, let's bring you up to speed. So first of all, I want to have a quick look at Wikipedia, and then I also want to look at Investopedia. So Wikipedia says that financial independence is the status of having enough income or wealth sufficient to pay one's living expenses for the rest of one's life without having to be employed or dependent on others. Income earned without having to work a job is commonly referred to as passive income. Then Investopedia says that a quick definition of financial independence could be having enough wealth to live a life of comfort without the need to work. In truth, financial independence can mean different things to different people. And I really like this definition, because one of the biggest things that I would say when it comes to financial independence is recognizing what that essentially means to you. So for example, in my case, when I think about financial independence, what I really mean is that I no longer have to trade time for money. So I no longer have to work a specific job, for example, in order for me to make money to pay for my expenses. Now, before we go on, I do want to distinguish the difference between financial independence and retirement, because technically they are actually two separate things. And what I find is that many people think that if you're trying to strive for financial independence, essentially what you're saying is that you never want to work for the rest of your life, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So yes, if you're talking about things like retirement, particularly when it comes to the traditional sense, what you're essentially doing is just not working anymore, right? Whereas when it comes to financial independence, what it's doing is actually giving you the option. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to stop working. What's going to be happening is the fact that you don't have to work to pay for your expenses, but that does not mean that you should stop working or that you have to stop working. And so now we have a bit of a definition when it comes to financial independence. I want to talk about some of the reasons why I have chosen to strive for financial independence and why I think you should be doing the same thing too. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, I'm sure you know, it's free. So the first reason why I'm striving for financial independence, and I do think that many people should be doing the same thing, is because of the financial security that you will get. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I think this is probably one of the most important reasons why we should be striving for financial independence. And the reason why I say that is because we have no idea what is going to be coming up in the future. We have no idea whether our jobs are actually going to be safe, or whether the income that we're currently generating is going to be stable for years to come. I mean, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up, but if we go back to 2020, it's clear that some things aren't always guaranteed. And so when I'm talking about that financial security, what I mean is that if you are financially independent, you'll no longer have to worry about your bills being paid. So even if something happens, let's say you may get laid off on your job, or maybe they even ask you to take a pay cut, well, that's going to be okay because your expenses will already be paid for. And I don't know about you, but I feel as if I would be able to sleep so much better at night knowing that all of my bills are taken care of no matter what happens to my income. So if I'm working in a company and they want to start moving mad, that's okay, because I have investments that are pretty much paying for my lifestyle anyway. And even though it may take you a few years to reach that financial independence goal, if you are already striving for it and if you are already working towards that goal, you are already going to be getting even closer to that financial security. So for example, in our case, when it comes to financial independence, independence, because we've already started working towards that, if anything happened to our income today, so let's say I had no income coming in whatsoever and my husband had the same thing where he maybe lost his job, we would still be able to survive financially and pay our bills for at least a year because we are working towards financial independence. And so as a result, we have a decent amount of savings and investments. And so what I'm trying to say is, just by taking the action to now start working towards financial independence, yes, there's going to be a point in time where literally your bills are going to be paid and you no longer have to work, but also because you're now working towards that as well, it's going to have a positive impact when it comes to your financial security, not only with the end destination, but with the journey too. And if you want to learn more about how we were able to save so much to the point where we have more than a year's worth of expenses, then definitely check out my free training, because I cover all of that in so much more detail. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. I will link it up here for you and in the description below. But when it comes to financial independence, yes, it's nice to not have to work, but one of the biggest reasons why I think everyone should be striving for this is having that financial security for yourselves. Now, the next reason why I'm striving for financial independence, and I think everyone should too, is the fact that financial independence can give you options. Now, what I mean by this is, if your bills and your expenses are pretty much all taken care of, well, you'll essentially get to the point where you can pretty much have the option to do whatever you want. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that sounds pretty good to me. Now, the reason why I wanted to mention this point is because for many people, the reason why they work is literally just to pay their bills. Now, in an ideal world, what you would be doing is probably still having a job that pays well, but you would also enjoy the work too, so it doesn't necessarily feel like you're literally just going to work to pay bills. It's also going to have a positive impact on your life as well. But for many people, that may not be the case. So at least when it comes to financial independence, that's going to give you the option, because your bills are already taken care of, to do what you really want to do. So let's say that you would absolutely love this job, but you realize that it doesn't pay well. If you are financially independent, then it won't really matter because your bills will already be taken care of. And so what that means is that you can literally work any job you want, regardless of the pay, because your expenses are already paid for. Even if you're not financially independent yet, because you're striving for financial independence, that can also give you options too. So let's take my case as an example. Well, because we were already working towards financial independence and we had quite a decent amount of savings and investments, it got to a point where last year I was just getting really tired with what I was doing, because I was side hustling and I was working at the same time and I had all of these big changes going on. What I decided to do was actually take a career break so that I could just rest and reset and be ready for the next year. Now, a big reason why this was possible and I was able to just quit my job like that is because we had already been working towards financial independence, and so we had a really good foundation when it came to our savings and investments. So like I mentioned before, we already had over a year's worth of expenses because we were already working towards financial independence, and so that gave me the freedom to take a career break because we already had the money there. And so again, even though it may take a while before you reach the ultimate goal of financial independence, if you are already striving for it and you're working towards financial independence, you will be surprised at the amount of options that will start to come up just because you are on that journey. So again, it doesn't have to be the full destination, because the journey itself can also give you options. Now, the next reason why I'm striving for financial independence, and I think you should be doing it too, is the fact that financial independence will help you keep up with inflation. So when I'm talking about inflation, what I'm basically saying is that the purchasing power of your pounds or dollars is going down. And so what I mean by this is, if you have £10 or $10, how much you're able to buy with that amount of money is very different to how much you were able to buy 10 years ago. So in this case, 10 years ago, if I did have £10 or $10, I may have been able to buy 20 chocolate bars. However, if we fast forward it to today, so 10 years after, I may only be able to buy 10 chocolate bars instead of 20. And so even though the actual chocolate bar hasn't changed, your purchasing power has changed. And so that means you're gonna have to buy less chocolate bars. And that is the power of inflation. And so if you want to mitigate that and you at least want to keep up with inflation, most likely you're probably going to be thinking about investing your money, because you're likely to get higher returns if you do invest your money. And if you're investing your money, that is also going to help you become financially independent, because what you'll be doing is having those investments now start to grow over time. And what those investments can do is basically pay for your lifestyle and your expenses. And so if you're striving for financial independence, even though prices may start to go up over time, what's going to be happening is your investments will also probably be going up over time as well. And it's also probably going to be higher than the inflation rate too, which essentially means that not only will you be able to keep up with inflation, if you do invest that money, you probably will find that you end up beating inflation. And so even if in the future things start to get a bit more expensive, that's probably going to be okay if you are working towards financial independence, because you would have already been investing that money, and so your investments probably would have also been increasing anyway. And so that means essentially what you can do is keep the same lifestyle that you had before. Now, if you do need further support when it comes to investing your money, especially if you are a complete beginner and it feels a bit overwhelming, or even just thinking about where to get started when it comes to your financial independence journey and mapping all of that out, then definitely check out my one-to-one coaching program, because essentially what we will do is outline step by step exactly how you can become financially independent based on your personal circumstances. And then you'll also have a step-by-step breakdown in terms of how you can start investing so that you can start working towards financial independence too. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. You can book a free interest call with me. So I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. But when it comes to striving for financial independence, I do actually think it's really, really important. And I think it's something that we should be talking about in general, because not only does it give you options, it's at least going to help you keep up with inflation. Plus you're going to have that added financial security too. So for me personally, striving for financial independence is definitely a no-brainer. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, are you currently striving for financial independence? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.